Welcome to AgriTalk, where we talk about all things agricultural.
All things, yes.
Right.
Variety of things, from growing to economical.
Okay. I think today we're talking about how to sustain production for increasing population. Is that right?
You can consider it
That
that.
may be one of
you
those
can
things.
think of that, the future needs of agriculture. Variety of ways you can look at that or describe it, I guess you could say.
Okay. Well, who do we have with us today?
Well, today we have Dr. Keith Smith, former director of the OSU Extension. And welcome, Keith.
Thank you.
And so today we've got a variety of topics to talk about, but first we'd like to have you just to introduce yourself and maybe how long you've been with the university and then what kind of your role is right now.
Well, forever is a long time.
Well,
I've been
is,
with
yeah.
I've been with the university, but no, I came to the Ohio State University in 1980 as a leader personnel development for the Ohio State University Extension, but also as an assistant professor in then agriculture education. And so I had the opportunity to teach a number of courses in the college. Matter of fact, I started the leadership course, Ag Ed 342, in our college, and really appreciated that opportunity to teach kids about leadership. And that was kind of my minor in my PhD program in agriculture education. My minor was in sociology, and leadership is the major focus. So I've had that as one of my passions throughout my career, is to try to help young people and even adults learn a little bit more about leadership capacities. So I decided that at one point in my career, after teaching and working in extension, that if I teach that, I ought to try it a little bit. So I applied for the associate director of extension and worked with Bobby Mosher, and the former dean of the college was also the director of extension at one time, and I was his associate director. And then he moved up to dean of the college, and I applied for and got the position of director of OSU Extension, an associate dean in the college, and then later associate vice president of agriculture administration. So I've really enjoyed the opportunity I've had of having a little leadership experience in the college, and using that experience to help young people and others maybe improve their leadership opportunities a little bit.
What was the most enjoyable part that you did in your job in that position?
Oh, that's easy. It's people. Really enjoy working with our extension educators, with our administrative group. I was involved with, of course, the vice president's cabinet, and then I had my own administrative cabinet that we met on a monthly basis. Great people to work with. Our educators out in the field. We had an organization still. About 800 people in the organization, located in all 88 counties. And of course, in a number of colleges, at least three colleges on campus, and sometimes four. In our own college, the College of Food, Agriculture, and Environmental Sciences, Vet Sciences, and Education, Human Ecology. And then sometimes we've had specialists in engineering as well. So we've had state specialists and that I've worked with, and our people out in the field, administrators. And for the most part, just a wonderful, enjoyable time working with people that want to make a difference, a positive difference for the lives, especially of Ohioans. It's really an enjoyable career.
Now, within that period of time that you were in charge of extension, what could you say would be the biggest change from when you started to the time you left that?
Oh, wow. I became director in 1992 and then retired in June of 2015. So it was a long stint, one of the longer serving directors in the United States. And during that period of time, budget changes was a big thing. When I came in July of 1992, the governor announced a 19% cut across the board for
Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome. For all agencies. It wasn't just zeroing in on extension. It was all state agencies got a 19% cut. Our experiment station got a 19% cut as well. And so times were pretty rough then, and we worked back from that reduction, eventually getting increases from the governor, from the state legislature. Matter of fact, we were never cut by the state legislature. Never. In all the years I was the director of extension, they never cut our budget. It was just line item cuts from the governor. And the governor was just trying to balance the budget. We have, it's required in Ohio to have a balanced budget, which I agree with. I think our federal government ought to have a little,
a little more,
more of a guideline that way. And so the governor, in this case, all the time that I was a director of extension, was trying to balance the budget. But we went from lows when I first started to highs where we got real nice increases. And then, of course, things kind of crashed around the 2000, 2001. Then it crashed again around 2008. And so we got cuts. So big things that changed for me was always worrying about the budget. I have a federal line item. I had a state line item. I had counties. I had to work with all the county commissioners in all 88 counties. So I was worried about budget all the time because the federal budget goes from October to September. The state budget goes from July to June, and the county budgets go from January to December. So I was just all the time worried about budget, and especially with the highs and lows. That was a big thing that changed. But another thing that really changed during our time was specialization. We encourage specialization with our extension educators so that they go deep in their subject matter area. And then collaboration, working across counties was an important thing that we established while I was director of extension. And then extension educators getting more involved in applied research and applying for grants. Matter of fact, when I left extension in June, 27% of our funding came from grants, gifts, and cost recovery.
That's great.
When I came into extension, it was less than 1% when I came in as director. And so our people going after grants and gifts, and not just chasing ambulances, it's those grants and gifts that apply to what they're doing in the field.
More of a focus.
Yes, more of a focus type thing. So Mike, a big thing that changed for us is that culture, that mindset that I have to bring in some dollars too if I want my program to succeed, rather than just relying on federal, state, and county money that basically kind of decreased during that period of time. As far as spending money.
That might make a good segue to the first topic we were going to discuss was, with the cut in budgets and stuff, how do you make do with what you have, which is less, making do with what you have. And it's what statistics on our agricultural needs in the next 20 years.
Well, I'm going to kind of phrase a question here for you. As you came in extension and as you left, you've seen not only ag farms go away, but how do we still sustain all of our food with less acreage, I guess you could say, and how do we look at the future?
Well, Duane, it is a dilemma. The The statisticians tell us that by 2050, there's going to be 9 billion people
It's a lot.
in the world. And the statisticians tell us that we're going to have to increase production by 70% if we're going to sustain that population. Well, you kind of look at the statistics here, and we've got around 75,000, give or take, farms in Ohio. And things look pretty good right now as far as the balance of trade. We're actually taking our produce and selling to other countries. Our balance of trade is very good. We produce more than what we actually need in the United States at this time. But worldwide, 30 soccer fields a minute are going to other purposes other than production ag. 30 soccer fields a minute. And if you think about that, then all you have to do is go up and down the road, or in my own community of Hilliard, I'm surrounded by farms now, but they just announced that they're going to build 275 houses just north of me in this beautiful farm acreage, that's is prime farm ground that now are going to be houses. Right. And so how do we increase that 70% increase with less farm land availability and with other things that are going on like soil erosion and things due to climate? Whether you want to debate whether the climate's actually changing or not, something's going on.
Something's changing.
Something's changing. Statistics
Things are getting more extreme.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Mike. Here again, the statisticians tell us that in the last 2 decades, we've averaged about 335 major events, weather-related events, per year, in the last 2 decades.
Well, the past, decade, the middle of the country, Oklahoma and Texas, have been in a drought. And now they're flooding.
And now the flooding. And California's been in a drought as well. You take the 2 decades before, these last 2 decades, that's double the amount of these major events that occurred, these weather-related events. 335, it's double over the previous 20 years. $1.9 trillion worth of loss, and 660,000 lives. 600 million lives that have been lost to these weather-related events. This does not count earthquakes, because that's not a weather-related event. We're talking floods, tornadoes, hurricanes,
tsunamis.
That's right, exactly. And so something's going on, and so we've got that to battle with, these events, and we've got soil erosion. We're trying to combat that in the United States, but still worldwide, that's a real problem. And then again, everything related to this climate, the carbon sequestration, they say that more major events, more weather-related major events are going to happen unless we get the carbon sequestered. From the 400 parts per million that it is now, if we could just lower that to 350 parts per million in the atmosphere, then the change in temperature would be greatly reduced, lessened, and there'd be less of these, Mike, like you were saying, the major events that have been occurring. So we've got all these things that are, and add on to that, a few invasives that have wandered in, like emerald ash borer and along the Asian longhorn beetle that have come in, avian flu, and a disease that killed 50 million birds here in 2014.
And there's those crazy fish that jump out of the water coming up the Mississippi.
That's right, these carp. And so there's just a number of things that are challenging agriculture right now that we're going to have to deal with if we're going to meet that goal of feeding this world population by 2050. So
do you have any answers, or are you just waving the flag going, hey, there's a problem?
Well, part of it's waving a problem. We better not we cannot, as a land-grant institution like Ohio State University, sit on our laurels and expect it to go away. We've got to do something about it, and we have been working on that. The algal blooms up in Lake Erie, phosphorus runoff. 11,000 farmers have been trained now due to the legislation that was passed that they had to take this this fertilizer certification training. And our extension educators have trained now 11,000 farmers in best management practices. If we can reduce the phosphorus runoff, we reduce the algal blooms in Lake Erie, and we don't have Toledo, like in 2014, 400,000 people saying, where's the water? We can't drink the water, so we've got to take care of that. And we have been working on that.
Yeah, we realize that we've had a lot of those people on the show talking about all kinds of different things, aquaponics and, you know,
Well, I think in
kinds
our
of
last
stuff.
show, Alan was talking about sustainable ag and how we can, keep the soil in good health and prevent some of that runoff.
Excellent. It prevents runoff. If we have cover crops, no-till, we prevent more of the runoff. We sequester the carbon. So the major events, we lessen those major events, that weather-related events that can occur. And yes, those best management practices, again, that we're trying to help farmers, and not only farmers, but others, because sometimes the farmer's got the target on his back that he's the problem.
He's the problem.
He or she's the problem, and that's what's causing all the algal blooms in Lake Erie. Well, that's part of the problem, but there's also 12,000 different locations around the lake, Michigan, Canada, and Ohio, that are dumping raw sewage into
this has to be a
Lake Erie
world
River.
movement.
It is. It's a worldwide
it's not
problem.
just,
It can't just be the United States.
And then here we've got algal blooms and major rain events in Ohio, and then you look at California and they've got a drought. Well, there's another issue there. They've been pulling out 5 million acre-feet of water out of their aquifer to water.
Isn't that coming down the Colorado River?
That is unsustainable if they keep pulling that amount of water. Matter of fact, you've probably read where the mountains are actually getting higher in California because the ground's sinking. And wells are drying up. And you think about 5 million acre-feet of water, and some people ask me, well, I don't have a concept. Well, an acre-foot of water is 326,000 gallons. So 5 million times that.
Wow.
That's a
And
lot
then
of water.
I know that's an issue. I was in Las Vegas, and they take water from other states.
Yes, that's
And
correct.
It's crazy how that just water is a problem.
And you mentioned the Midwest, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma. There's 8 states in that area take from the Ogallala aquifer, and you've heard of that aquifer. And we talk about the 5 million acre-feet that California draws out, but in those 8 states, 30% of the irrigated water in the United States is drawn from the Ogallala aquifer.
I didn't realize that.
30%.
Wow.
36 million acre-feet of water in the last 3 years.
Wow, I didn't know.
36 million acre-feet of water. If the Ogallala dries up,
We're in trouble.
We dry up
We're
too.
in trouble.
and the researchers tell us that it takes us 6,000 years to fill up the Ogallala again if it dries up. So yeah,
But we've got all kinds
water's
of
an
water
issue.
all over the planet in the oceans, but it's not good.
It's not good for the plants or us.
Well, here again, there's been some research. I've been over to Israel, and those folks have done some amazing things with water over there. They're actually using what they call brackish water, or it's part salt water and fresh water in their greenhouses. And so they're growing tomatoes, and talk about good tasting tomatoes. If you can imagine growing tomatoes with part salt water, it's
Pre-salted
great.
tomatoes.
Pre-salt. But they're delicious, and so they've really been working in those regards, working with seawater, to use seawater, and also drip irrigation. They're masters at drip irrigation, saving water, just water to go right exactly where it needs to go. So you know the dean, the current, well, he's now the provost at Ohio State. He's said that water is the next oil.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I would
think
have
we
to
would all
agree with
agree.
that. Yeah. With that though, so we've got water. How do we build on that and keep our food secure, and move move into that world of possible contamination or things like that?
That's an excellent point too. Food security is a major issue. If we look at nationwide, 49 million people are food insecure. And what we mean by food insecurity is safe and enough and safe food to live an enjoyable, healthy life. And so if they're insecure, they're not getting enough food or healthy food, proper food nutrition to have that enjoyable life. In Ohio, that translates into 2 million people, and 17.8% of our population are food insecure. That's hard to hard to understand, but that's what the food banks tell us, is that's just how many people were drawing food out last year because of food insecurity. Right here in Ohio, we're number 8th in the nation in food insecurity. Number 8.
Wow.
So that's another area that, yes, we need to work on, and yet we're the safest nation in the world, and as far as food, safe
Production.
food and production, but still. The researchers tell us that we spend anywhere, and they don't have that exact, anywhere from $55 billion to $93 billion on food-related illnesses every year. That translates into Ohio about $1,666 per person that on foodborne illnesses. And so we've got the foodborne illnesses, we've got the food insecurity, and yet, Duane, we're throwing away 31% of our food.
Isn't that that's an interesting number, isn't it?
It is an interesting number. We produce over 900 billion pounds of food in the United States a year, and we're throwing 31% of that away. Almost over a third. Close, and some say it's as high as 40% we're throwing away.
It's amazing.
And so USDA has said in the next 10 years we're going to cut that in half as far as throwing away our food. And if we're going to get to that 70%,
that might be part of
production.
The increase. Yeah.
Save the food that we're throwing away. That's
sort of like the money in Congress. Where are you spending it?
That's correct.
Put it in the right place.
That's correct. So that's another major area that absolutely that can increase production by saving food and helping people realize what how to protect their food, how to secure it, etc.
Use what you have in a better way.
Exactly, and then in France, they just created a law that, you know, the due date and grocery shelves, when the food becomes due, groceries here mostly throw that away.
Right.
And in France, they've said that when it hits its due date, they give it to the poor. Well, you say, just give it away, but on the other hand, if we're helping the poor to be more healthy, then there's less health costs.
Right.
And it helps us all in that regard.
That's a good point. And then with all of this, and as we lose farms, how do we get the younger people into this? How do we foster them into agriculture to keep this rolling?
The farmers are real important. I don't know how many people might think, just go to the store and buy your food.
Right.
Without thinking, what's on the back end?
Yeah, what's on the back end? I've met people that said, well, I buy my eggs from Kroger's. And I'm like, well, yeah, but they come from a farm. Oh, no, I don't like farm eggs. I like Kroger eggs. And I'm like, really? You know, and I was like, okay, I understand that. I
hate killing animals. Just buy your meat at the store.
Yeah, right. So yeah, but you know, as that goes along, we have to get our younger people involved into agriculture some way.
Absolutely.
And then I know our university or extension has trying to program us to do that, in whether it's 4-H or anything like that.
We are. Average age of the American farmer is 58.3 years now. And as far as types of jobs that are available in agriculture, they tell us that there's 57,900 jobs available next year in agriculture. And how many graduates do we have to fill those jobs? 35,000. Wow. We are woefully short, and so trying to get these young people in and show them the wonderful world of agriculture, all the possibilities. It's not just going back to the farm, which we want them to go back to the farm too. We want those young farmers involved in agriculture, and USDA is actually pumping money in to bring young people into agriculture. But we want to show them the breadth of agriculture too, and the hundreds, thousands of jobs that are available in agriculture if they want to get into it. 92% of the graduates in our college, in the College of Food, Ag, and Environmental Sciences, within 6 months have a job. That's pretty darn good. That's pretty darn good. And the 6% that aren't really striving to get a job. And the average salary is over $41,000. That's not too shabby either.
That's not shabby in our area by any means.
So as far as jobs, as far as salary, as far as availability, it's a good opportunity.
And working conditions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Out in the nice outdoors and stuff.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
It's a healthy way of life.
And when we say agriculture, a lot of people just by default say, oh, farms, it's animals and stuff like that.
Like you said before, cows and plows.
Yeah. There's so many other job-related fields in that. There's technology, there's education. So yeah, it's
engineers,
not just farming.
And we talked about water quality and nutrition. That's all agriculture.
All part of that.
Matter of fact, we're all involved in agriculture. We all eat
way.
3 times a day, don't we?
That's true.
At least we
That's
hope
good.
so.
I like that. Great. Well, I think we're getting fairly close to the end of the show. Is there any last words or comments that you want to make, Keith?
Final word is it's a wonderful world, that world of agriculture.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks for watching AgriTalk, and we'll see you next month.